one. There it is, right on time.
What up, ladies and gentlemen? It's Friday.
Yeah.
And today we're going to talk about all kinds of stuff, but scaling your business while avoiding the classic bullshit. That's what he says. So that's what we're going to talk about.
Thank you for listening to the Business Bros Podcast. Are you looking to get more clients or to increase your income? Hernan, the business bro, can help you generate referrals through the power of podcasting. And James, the insurance bro with Pipeline Insurance, can help you effectively add insurance to your existing business. If you are ready to create wealth today and generational wealth for tomorrow, email businessbros@seeusfirst.com to schedule a free consultation or join the Business Bros Network, www.businessbros.biz.
So there's a first time for everything where you hit the outro video in the intro.
Did I do that or you? Because I went to click it, and I guess Non's clicking it now.
It must have been my bad. You know what? It's a backwards Friday. We're just gonna roll with it. Here we go, ladies and gents.
Podcast guys, what's up with that?
Right? This is my first 526th podcast. This
You
is
know
the
what's
first time
so
I've ever done a
too
526th one.
All right.
I was just listening to it, like, all right, yeah, that's cool. We hear this all the time. Wait, where's the welcome to another? What just happened?
We weren't able to do that. Such is life, ladies and gentlemen.
Man.
Everyone makes mistakes. James, drop the fire intro.
Here we go. Well, it is a scorcher here in San Diego, and just because of that mistake, I am already. And it is about to be a fire episode here on the Business Bros. Today's guest is the author of the book FQ, Financial Intelligence, and he's built his name as a professional coach for entrepreneurs and business owners to teach them how to improve their financial IQ. Get it? FQ? Huh? All right. Our guest today knows what it takes to build and scale business, having built more than half a dozen of his own successful companies. He knows that young entrepreneurs often need to get out of their own way, and he wants to help you solve the most vexing problem and help you level up your company. If you're ready to work one-on-one with a published author and be held accountable while you create lifelong financial plan, listen in and learn from one of the best. Joining us from Daas Knowledge, and Daas Real Knowledge right there, welcome to the show, Henry Daas!
Woo! We are ready to rock and roll. How you like that, Henry? Aside from getting the outro as the intro, how'd you like the fire intro?
I love the fire. Wow, I got to tell you, I've been doing a lot of podcasts since the COVID because I got a little extra time on my hands. That's the best one. Oh yeah,
Nice.
Oh, thank you.
rocked it. Mhm.
That's what we strive for. We want to have some fun on the
Kudos
show,
all
man.
around. Absolutely.
Thank you. All right, and now now we can play the intro as the outro. All right, let's cut out of here.
You know what? We'll do that at the end.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Good
We'll
idea.
do that. We gotta be different today. Henry, thanks a lot for taking time to be on the podcast today, man. I'm looking forward to having this conversation. Far too often, we fall into this trap where we have this idea that we want to get into business. I'm tired of working for this guy that's telling me what to do every day from 9 to 5. I can do it better than him. I can do it for more money. I'm so technically skilled. I got it down pat. I go out there and I do it myself and I realize, man, this sucks. What am I
Splat,
supposed to
as
do
I
about
like
that?
to say, right? You go out and then splat.
Exactly.
You just fall face first into the sidewalk, right?
Oh, right. And here's the thing.
Throw it out.
Now you open your mouth to everybody that you can do it better. And so you got to get off you got to scrape your face off that sidewalk and keep going like nothing happened. Like you actually enjoy doing
like
what
I
you're
meant
doing.
to do that, right?
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yep.
It's one of those little cartoons. Mhm.
Right.
Gotta prove
So
to
how at what point does an entrepreneur realize that they actually don't have a business? They have made their own job. And then what do we
Yep.
do to get them out of that?
Right. So there's a massive disconnect between a business and a money-making venture, right?
Mm.
So that's what people do. I classify them kind of two ways because I'm actually, besides writing my FQ book, shameless plug for that, I'm writing a business book right now. And so I talk about two different paths. One is what I'll call the accidental business, right? That's the one. Some people shine that up and call it opportunistic, right? So we'll call it opportunistic business. My first business 30 years ago, opportunistic business. College friend of mine said, I need some computers. I'm having a hard time sourcing them for my clients. It's like, dude, let me take a crack at it. And 18 months later and $600,000 worth of business, I quit my day job and said, I got a real business here. But I didn't go into with the intention of starting a business. It was low-hanging fruit. They were handing me sales, and I was working a day job. I was able to do it as a side hustle, test it out, and then once it achieved critical mass, I was able to do that, right? That's a classic entrepreneurial story.
It's almost a necessity. James and I have a very, very similar story. I mean, our first business was computer repair, and that's because he got fired from a cable company installing high-speed internet for rolling his truck, right?
Necessity is the mother of innovation, all right?
Right.
Yeah,
and we had to pay a mortgage.
No doubt about it.
It's a mother for sure. We had to pay a mortgage. So to solve the problem of paying the mortgage, we're like, you're already doing this. Let's just go hand out flyers and kind of, do the same thing. And it turned itself into a business, opportunistic.
It did. It morphed into it. But you didn't know anything about how to set it up. You didn't know anything about hiring people. You didn't know anything about cash flow, right? You didn't know, oh, wait a second. What's net 30? What's net 10?
Wait, you're not going to give me cash right now?
Right? Yeah. Well, I was talking to somebody on another podcast about how many small business owners run their business out of their bank account.
Yeah.
It's like, do you understand this concept of payables and receivables and cash flow and income statements? And their eyes glaze over. It's like, whoa. I don't want to do that. I look at my bank account, and if there's money in it, it means I must be making money.
Yeah, that's how we operated, except we went one step further, and we're like, if there's money in the cash register at the end of the day, we're good. We have money to eat.
Hardware store, right? What is it?
We're gonna go next door and get some Chinese food.
Yeah,
right, that's it.
No, that's not a prescription for long-term success. You can get by on that for a little while until you figure it out. Everybody, I shouldn't say everybody, bad word. Many people will make a bunch of really dumb mistakes when they start their business, right? They'll extend credit to somebody. I did it in my business, my first business. I extended $50,000 worth of credit to a big $2 billion company, and 5 minutes later they went bankrupt, right? And left me holding the bag. That was a very expensive business lesson that I learned pretty early on, right? So be careful who you loan money to, right? Because anytime you give somebody terms and credit, you're loaning them money, right?
Yeah, and you may not have the cushion to survive that. That $1 billion company could, may very well have just been able to pay you off with some assets and no big deal. It's just you're so small. Who cares?
I had to wait in line, and the funny thing was, our lawyers were the same lawyers representing them. And they said, well, we can't talk to you, but here's what you should do. But you didn't hear it from us. And we did that. And 3 years later, we got every nickel. So we were able to engineer our way around it. But I got to tell you, I felt like someone had kicked me in the stomach. I left the office and went over to Union Square in Manhattan, a couple blocks from our office. And I screamed bloody murder at the guy who did the deal. And the poor guy was like, you know what? I really feel bad, but I'm worried about my job. My company just went bankrupt. So I can't really blame him. Right? It was our fault.
No, that's one, that line right there. It's our fault. That line right there is something that many people, and not just in business, just in life, we are so quick that when something goes wrong, it's somebody else's fault. Right. Like, that whole story of James and I in our first business, for many years, I told the story that, he joined the Navy and left, and that's why our business went under. And that's just not the truth. The truth is, I was partying. I didn't pay attention to business like a business. I treated it like a piggy bank. I never really took the time to develop any systems or put anything in place. The business failed because I failed the business. Right. And we don't take that kind of accountability. We continuously point the finger at everything else that's happening to us, when if we look introspectively at our own mistakes, we could actually solve problems.
Yeah, it's the essence of really being a coach. Again, another shameless plug for coaching, but it really is. You can't see yourself in the mirror, right? You want to take responsibility, but it's very painful and it's very hurtful. And when you're in a partnership, and I was in a partnership at the beginning, it gets even tougher. So having an outside party that can kind of give you a little bit of a reality check here. Is it serving you to beat yourself up or to shirk responsibility, right? Because many entrepreneurs will go through iterations of entrepreneurship, right? Like I said, I've had 5, 6, 7 different businesses. Some of them done spectacularly well. One in particular was an epic fail. So I've seen it on both sides. The important thing is you pick yourself up, you learn your lessons. You try not to learn them a second time or a third time or a fourth time, right? Try to learn them, right? It's like, I don't want to make those dusty old mistakes. I want to make all new ones, right?
Yeah.
You really do, because you're going to constantly make mistakes. That's fine. You just don't want to make a mistake that's so big that it just kills your business.
Yeah. Fatality. I'm just
Fatal
thinking.
blow, right?
Well,
Yeah.
but making mistakes ever since we were little kids has been looked at as a bad thing, right? I mean, I teach high school. I know that when I fail a class, that is horrible. It's horrible at school because I get a bad mark or bad grade. It's horrible at home because my parents look down on me, right? And I'm like, I'm a failure. I'm letting them down in some way. Failure is a bad thing. Then I go out in the real world and I'm like, well, I don't want to fail. So what do? We don't even try. We don't take that step because we're so afraid of failure. We're so afraid of that rejection. We're so afraid of what it's going to make us look like that we don't actually take that small leap. And that, I think, is one of the things that holds us back as entrepreneurs. We took a leap and we've established ourselves. We talked earlier about, hitting your, face planting on the concrete. Well, in entrepreneurship, you have to get comfortable with making mistakes. You don't want to make the same ones over and over again, but like you said, you want to make new ones. You want to take your business to that next level. You want to try that next system. You want to hire that next person. And it does require the fact that, the truth of the matter is you don't know what you're doing until you give it a shot.
No, I agree. I don't want to focus too much on the failure because then it's like we'll go down that rabbit hole, because there are a lot of positive things that can be brought out of business. I will say that something is only a failure if you didn't learn from it, right? So it's the important thing is, what are the lessons? What are the takeaways? Right now, I sound like a boomer, like a 61-year-old boomer. I was actually just reminded of something. I remember my oldest son, who's 28, but when he was in high school, we got called in, the bio teacher, because he wasn't doing well in biology and this and that and the other thing. And I finally looked at her and I said, did you ever consider that maybe he sucks at biology? The look on her face, like no parent has ever said that. But I'm like, it just may not be his thing, right? But it's a requirement. Let him get through it, okay? Sometimes that's just as good as it's going to be.
But that's being honest with yourself. Like, what's wrong with saying this is not my cup of tea, right? This is not what I like to do. It's saying, modalities, learning modalities, we all learn in different ways. We all have different strengths and we all have different intelligences, right? I mean, just because I don't have a traditional IQ, like, an Einstein type IQ where I can take, academics and take it to a whole new level, right? Exactly. Doesn't mean that I don't have maybe I have emotional intelligence. Maybe I'm better at music. Maybe I have creativity, right? There's other things that we can use. And those things, if fine-tuned, can be huge assets for entrepreneurs.
I went to see a guy named Dan Sullivan many, many years ago, the strategic coach. He's a big, muckety-muck coach. If you search coaching on the web, you'll find him. And he said something that I love that I've quoted many, many times. He said, if you spend a lot of time working on your weaknesses, what you end up with is a bunch of really strong weaknesses, right? So you as an entrepreneur, you're going to look at it. So for instance, in my book is called Codfish, right? It's got a weird name. And Codfish stands for customer support, operations, finance, infrastructure, sales and marketing. Let me see, wait a second. Oh, I forgot development. D is for development. F is for finance. I is for infrastructure, IT. S is for sales and marketing. H is for HR. Right? Human resource. These 7 silos, every business operates with these 7 silos, even if you're a solopreneur. You just may be doing all of them, right? There aren't 8, There aren't 6. Trust me, I vetted this out over the last several years with my coaching clients and said, find me something. Every once in a while, I had a couple of weeks ago, one of my clients said, I found something that doesn't fit your codfish model. And I'm like, no, that goes in development. They're very dismissive. No, I'm kidding. I wasn't.
I can group it wherever I want.
She's like, well, I disagree, but we'll put it in development if that's what you think. Some of those are going to be in your core competencies, right? I'm a finance guy. So the money side of things, really, really easy. My first business was born out of the customer support silo, right? I was supporting these people. They could have bought their computers from Computerland. Again, I'm dating myself. This is 30 years ago. Any one of the big box stores. Why buy it from me, right? Because of me, because I'm going to support you and they're not. You're just a number with them, right? They're doing millions and millions of boxes. I'm doing like 14 of them. So you as a client are super important to me. So I'm going to give you a level of support that you are not going to get from these other guys. But then you ask yourself, how do I scale that? Right?
Well, that's and you know, when you're talking about the different silos, you know, my background is in accounting and, you know, in taxes, that sort of stuff. Mm-hmm. And it's not necessarily that I love to do those things. The truth of the matter is, I went off and got that degree because that is the area that I was weakest in, and now I'm very familiar with a lot of these topics. Right? I can speak finance, I can speak accounting, I can speak insurance, I can speak real estate, but I understand the value of getting somebody who lives in that space.
Sure.
Right? And grabbing somebody, the only difference is when that person is excelling at that silo, that piece of the business that I need them to excel at, when I communicate with them, I can speak the same language. And that brings, to me, that's a huge value in being able to run the ship if I can speak to the different areas of my business in their language.
No, that's important. But there are some parts of your business where you're just not going to be fluent in it, right? Mm-hmm. But you still got to be able to manage these people because you're not going to be able to master every discipline, right? If I'm hiring somebody to do SEO, search engine optimization for my website, right? I'm not going to go in there and figure out all the nuts and bolts of SEO. Right. I'm going to learn a couple of buzzwords and a couple of key things, but otherwise I'm hiring the guy or the gal, right?
Yep.
Because we don't hire necessarily for skills. We want people to be able to do the job. But if anybody who's ever watched Shark Tank knows, guys come on with brilliant ideas. You're looking at it, it's like, oh my God, this is a brilliant idea. Everybody's going to invest. But nobody likes the guy because he's flaky or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. Because you're investing in the person, not the idea. Other guys come on and their idea is total junk and people are throwing money at them, right? Because we invest in people, not ideas, right? And customers are the same way, right? They're looking at you as a solopreneur, as a small business. What do you, Henry, what do I bring to the table? I'm a solopreneur. They're hiring me, right? That's what it is. What do I bring to the table? How am I going to make them feel?
Right, but the problem with that is, let's use a real estate agent, for example. When you hire a real estate agent, you're not hiring their brokerage. You're hiring that agent. And if that agent provides you a quality service, then more people are going to want to have that quality service. You're going to get more referrals and that agent's business is going to grow. Problem is, at some point, that agent is going to be like, all right, it's time to retire. I've been doing this for 30 years. I'm over it. I need to go, live my best life. It's time to sell my business. You don't have a business. No. Because people want you. They don't want your business. You have nothing of value to sell because you can't sell yourself. You can clone what you do and be able to sell that to anybody else. That's where I think a lot of people have a problem, and they don't figure it out till it's 20 years, 30 years down the road, or worse, 5 years and they're burnt out.
Well, how would you tackle that problem? So that's a great scenario right there, right? So you're the solopreneur, you got a nice book of business, right? Got a little franchise going, and now you've been doing it, and you say to yourself, okay, my exit strategy is in 5 years, I want to go to Shady Acres and play golf every day or whatever. But I've got this nice little business. Isn't it a shame to just sort of throw it on the scrap heap? So what do you do?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what I've been doing personally. I start to really take account of the things that I do on a daily basis, right? What is it that I do in my business that I am responsible for doing myself?
Okay.
Once I can account for my own actions, then I can start documenting what that process is. And once I know what that process is, I can replace myself doing it with somebody, with a person, a system in place that I can put a person into.
Right. So that's like, I'm reminded of the McDonald's. That's a McDonald's, model. Right?
Yes.
The fries go in for 7 minutes, not 6 minutes and 59 seconds, not 7 minutes and 1 second, right? A high schooler can do that. So you write up an SOP and they can follow it. How many businesses run that way?
That's a good question.
Not a lot.
Only the masterly efficient ones, right?
Oh, I was going to say only the businesses run that way. How many solopreneurs run that way? That's the real question.
Most solopreneurs keep all the documentation in their head, but what you have there is a very, very, very astute observation. Sit down and write these SOPs. Write a run book for your business, right? But what I'm really driving at and looking at that even further is saying groom a successor, right? Bring in somebody, let them work hand in hand with you. Preferably somebody who's 20 years younger, right?
Yeah.
Someone who's got a little bit of experience and a longer runway than you. And I know people who've done that. People in the insurance business, people in the real estate business. They groom somebody to take over for them. They built a plan where they could actually buy out the franchise. Because I've bought and sold real estate, and the best real estate brokers that I've dealt with, their core value that they brought to the table was their book of clients. They were sales and marketing people persons, whatever you might want to call it. That was their value, right? They had at their beck and call a huge network of potential buyers. Again, I was on the seller side of this, that they could bring to the table. I lost a friendship over this, actually, because I didn't hire a friend because I didn't feel that she had the people who could buy our property when we sold the property 10 years ago. So I hired somebody else. She sold it at the asking price. This is in 2010, during the worst housing market in the history of mankind. And she sold it before the broker's open house because she had the buyers, and that's magic, right?
It's about that, building that database.
Yeah.
Right.
Building those relationships. Right?
Those databases, and that's one of the mistakes, again, going back to those very first businesses, that's one of the mistakes we made very young, not cultivating a database, not having a list of contacts, not retargeting them and sending them, back then it was, penny savers and mailers and door hangers,
oh, good
internet was,
times.
yeah.
You're really bringing me back. That's like when they had the yellow boxes on the, before 9/11 on the street corners in New York.
Yellow pages.
They had these big fat books with a bunch of contact informations in there.
Yep. Oh, so, man, all of that good stuff.
It was a little bit different time, but the same concept remains. It's still gathering, contact information, getting in front of your clients, letting them know that you still exist, that you have a potential for, future information, bringing value on a regular basis, and then notifying them when you do have something of value, right? And being able to do that on a consistent basis, growing it over time. When you first start, that's the reason why that rookie that's getting into the business can't generate a single referral, because he has no network of people yet. Versus the 20-year guy who's been building a network for the last 20 years, seems like all the business just comes to him because he's been building a network and working at it for so long.
Well, he's also been doing it in stealth mode, right? Because we've all met the people who do what I call the show up and throw up, right? I've been to 1 million networking events. I belong to probably 15 different networking groups, and everybody's throwing business cards at you and doing this and doing that. If you work on social networks, LinkedIn or co-founders or any of those things, people connect to you, they count to 100, and then they pitch you on their business. It's like, dude, that's no. Right? We gotta see whether we're simpatico. Give me something of value, right? Even if it's just a link to I had a new connection on LinkedIn. And he's a VC type, angel type. So I sent him a link on an article about Amazon that I thought was really interesting. And I said, okay, this is, we're just starting our conversation. Here's something I think is interesting. Send me something back in return. Of course, I haven't gotten anything back in return, so he probably doesn't like me.
But that's a different MO, right? This is one of those things. Okay, so podcasting for me has been that networking tool, right? And the reason why I tell people, especially today with such ease of creating your own podcast, it's been the best prospecting tool I've ever come across, because I couldn't get you on a 5-minute sales call, but I can get you 45 minutes on a podcast. And what's the difference? The only difference is that in the first scenario, I'm asking you to give me money for something that I'm selling right off the bat. In the other scenario, I'm inviting you to share what it is that you do, to talk about your product and service for 30 to 45 minutes. And maybe if you like me, we'll do business a little bit down the road. But at least at this point in the second scenario, I have your contact information. We've had a conversation. I've decided whether I want to continue our conversation and send you information or not send you information. It's all about bringing value on a regular basis. Then if I pitch you something and it's something that's along your lines, I might get a sale. But at the very least, I've brought you value over and over and over again. You feel like you have to reciprocate at some point. It's like, I always tell people, it's like Christmas at the office. When somebody comes up and gives you a present at Christmas, you want to almost punch them in the face sometimes because you didn't expect it, and you feel horrible because you don't have a gift for them, right? That's the power of reciprocation. If you're continuously bringing value to your customers, if you're continuously bringing value to the people that you interact with, they're going to reciprocate, whether it's referrals, whether it's information, whatever it is, they're going to think of you because you've brought them value.
Let's just say that they're more inclined to reciprocate with you.
Yes.
It's not a quid pro quo, though.
No,
we don't want to get into a scenario like that. Sales is very analogous to dating, right? So think about I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole, but think about how it goes when you're dating, and think about whether that's applicable in the business sales construct, right? Some people, they just rush for the sale. Hey, Henry, damn glad to meet you. You want to do business? You want to be my coaching client, right? We've met for 5 seconds.
Yeah. Well, yeah, of course. Let me sign the contract right now. Yeah, that never happens.
But then you got the opposite side of the people who cultivate all of this stuff, but then they never ask for the sale.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
That's where I fall guilty of,
right?
and I've done that for a very long time.
Fall guilty. I fall guilty of that sometimes too. That's just part of my I don't know, my Catholic upbringing, I guess. Give, and never ask. Well, you just keep your head down, nose to the grindstone. If you keep doing good work and providing value, good things will come to you. So here I am at 61 years old. Can I say that is actually true? For the most part. But what I will say is, when I put my head on the pillow at night, I feel good about the stuff that I do. Mm-hmm. And the only time that I've gone against character, where I've been sort of that shark, it's always blown up in my face.
Well, yeah, and well, here's my experience on, and I'm not at 61 yet. I'm going to be 38 here, but my experience has been, if I take the leap, and every once in a while, just ask the question, hey, I need help. I'm looking for a couple clients. Do you happen to know any? Like, it doesn't even have to be a would you sign on the dotted line question. Oftentimes, it's just I'm in need of a little bit of help. Who do you is there anybody you can help me with? If I brought enough value, then that question doesn't get bombed on. That question tends to be like, yeah, you know what? Actually, I do. I got this person who might interest you, and it may do something, it may not. But the fact that I asked, I think that's the part where, for me in the past has always been the issue, is I fail to ask. Either I'm scared, I feel awkward about asking, or whatever it is, I don't make that ask.
But that's another classic entrepreneurial trait. They left cubicle world. They think they're the masters of the universe. Even when they did the face plant on the sidewalk, they dusted themselves off. And again, they're back to being the master of the universe. They don't want to ask. They don't want to ask for help. They're going to grind through it. They're going to power through and figure this out, even if it kills them. Right? Yeah. You don't want to, there are easier, more elegant ways to go about doing it. Anything that you do in your business that you don't want to do, that you think is your Achilles heel. So for instance, my wife runs a business in Manhattan, picture framing business, 50-year-old family-owned business. She hates asking for money from clients. So I do as a little side hustle, her collections for her. I sue people, I take them to small claims court, and she'll say, be nice to these people. These are my good customers. It's like, They haven't paid you in 4 months. If this is what a good customer looks like, show me a crummy one, right? Seriously. You're not the bad guy here. They owe you money.
But they feel like the bad guy.
Yeah, but you feel like the bad guy. Well, that's another parable that I talk about where I say you can't, especially as a solopreneur. This is probably germane for your audience, and it's a little phrase I use. I said you can't wear the gray hat. So what does that mean? So you're trying to sell somebody. You're wearing the white hat, right? Everything's kumbaya. You're trying to sell them, right? You sell them. You're a little too generous with terms, which is what people do. And then now here it is 60, 90 days later, and they haven't paid you, and you've delivered real value to them. So now what do? You're going to put the black hat on and go and say, hey, I'm going to have to sue you. Where's my money? I'm sure there's listeners out there who have run into that scenario.
Wear the gray hat.
Right? Where they're trying to wear the gray hat. It's very, very, very hard to do. My suggestion to people is just don't be a bank, right? I said it on another podcast. It's like if you want to be a bank, be a banker. Otherwise, if it's a choice between booking a sale for someone and giving them generous terms, or losing out because you didn't give them terms, you said, no, it's cash and carry, or you got to give me a deposit or whatever. Ask yourself, which is a better scenario? Do you hope I'm gonna do the deal and hope I get paid? Right, I have a T-shirt. I'm not wearing it now. It says "Hope is not a plan." Right, one I wear all the time. It's actually like the headshot that I give out. Hope is not a plan. You're gonna hope, or are you willing as an entrepreneur to say, you know what, I would love to book this deal, but these terms don't work for me. It's
almost like lending family money.
Oh, yeah.
Right? You don't want to lend family money. Think of it as a gift, right? If you're going to lend family money, you consider it gone. If it comes back, that's great. But what are you going to do? You're going to kick them out? You're going to never talk to them again? If for what? $20, $100, $500, whatever it is. Like, think of it as a gift within family. And if you think of it as your business, and you mean this is your business. If you're thinking of your clients as your family because you really like them and you care about them and they're your good clients, great. Don't lend them money. And you won't have that issue. You won't come across the problem where you have to put on that black hat because you never put yourself in that situation. If you loan them something, then you just gifted it to them. If you think of it that way, you will never have any issues again.
And just call it a gift, right?
Right.
I've had people, I've borrowed and given plenty of money over the years to people. And if it's a gift, just call it a gift. Don't call it a loan and then never try to pay me back. The only thing that comes out of that is they can never ask for it again.
Yeah.
Right? So that's a cost.
If you want to get rid of them, loan them some money.
Yeah, exactly. Well said. That's called chutzpah if they come back around. I know I owe you money from the last loan, but can you loan me again? It's like, no. Only one loan at a time. That's all we do, one at a time.
And hopefully at that point you stick to your terms, right?
Right. So what are some of the other really vexing problems for your audience, for the solopreneur? Right? We talked about money.
Yeah, we talked about money. I think
sales and marketing with, developing that book of business, right?
And
hiring I think is really the other one, which is we talked about not loaning money to friends. How about not hiring friends?
Ooh, or hiring family.
Yep.
Are you guys related?
Oh yeah, we're related. Absolutely.
What are you trying to say? What are you trying to say?
Nothing. No, but seriously,
away from this conversation.
Hiring
this guy.
Hiring is really tough for small businesses, right? It is. They don't have a process. They put too much factor on money. They put sometimes too much factor on skill. I had a client who was a serial hirer for the same position. They kept trying to reorient this because they kept focusing on culture, right? Well, we want them to fit our company culture. Really? I thought you were hiring them to do a job for you, right?
Well, that's and we've fallen victim to that same type of scenario from time to time. It's good to have a good, principle and foundations of who your company is. But the bottom line is you have a task that needs to get done on a regular basis. You have an objective that needs to be met, your goals that are set. And if the person's not meeting the standards, sorry, time's up. You didn't meet your end of the contract and it's time to go. And if you're, in the employment sector, I think some of the biggest issues are management issues. When we hire somebody, we think of them closer as family, right? And now we're thinking, well, they have kids or they have rent to pay or they have, all of a sudden their burdens become your burdens, and you let that be what takes you down, right? All of a sudden you have somebody staying on that probably shouldn't be on, or maybe somebody doing a task that they're not suited really to do. And as a solopreneur is not understanding how to manage people, not understanding how to run your business, they become essentially cancers to your business because they're not doing the objective that you hired them to do.
Yeah, a bad hire is bad for everybody. It's bad for you because you spent some time and resources and assets and you hired the wrong person. It's bad for them because, like you said, yeah, they have families, they have children. I've only fired one person in my entire life in 30 something years of business. And I still remember how painful that was. It's tough. So you want to get it right. You want to build a process, even knowing that there's a chance that you're going to get it wrong. Right. But let's try to increase the odds a little bit by building a plan around it, trying to come up with some parameters that we can live with. Right? It isn't going to be perfect, but instead of just, yeah, my buddy's cousin does this, you should go talk to him, having one conversation over lunch and then hiring him. And I know of tons of stories of people who have done that. Let's try to be maybe a slightly more diligent process. Mm-hmm. It's really, really all I'm saying there is because a bad hire, like you said, it's a cancer. It can destroy your company because I've seen it. Right.
So how do we know we've made a bad hire? Like, what are some keys that we could probably look at or things that we can identify that can kind of point us in a direction where, like, hey, this is you see these types of things, maybe you should consider, X.
Red flags.
Yeah. Well, the ability to execute their job description. I'm assuming that you created a job description, right?
Of course. Yeah. Show up on time.
Yeah. So believe me, the girl that I fired had her job description was she was a receptionist, was show up on time. And 3 out of the first 8 days, she was late. And the reason she had to show up on time is because we get deliveries in New York City at 8:30 in the morning. And if the UPS guy slaps a label on the door, it's hell to pay. We got to go all over the neighborhood finding our stuff because we got stuff coming in every single day. So that was it. There was just one simple thing, and she couldn't manage that. Hire slowly, fire quickly, right?
Mm-hmm. Hit those red flags.
Same thing goes with when you onboard customers. If they're not working out, right? I know people bristle sometimes when I say fire your customers, but sometimes that's addition by subtraction because everything fits Pareto. Everything's 80-20, right? Right. 80% of your 80% of your top line is coming from 20% of your clients. You want those to be the best clients they can be. But it's funny how the bottom 80% are using up 80% of your manpower and your resources.
Yeah, right? Your time.
That works up
absolutely
pretty much all the way across the board. But getting back to the hiring idea, you'll know within usually a couple of weeks, you'll know whether they're working out. Right? You'll know whether they're doing their job. You'll know whether they fit, even if they're remote. And I've worked with a lot of, remote located businesses, businesses that are running virtually around the world. Don't have a central office. How do we keep that in check? By people's habits. Are they on Slack, right? Are they on the Trello board? Are they on Asana? Whatever it is you're using to run your company, right? What is the quality of work that you're getting from them, right? And resist the temptation to make allowances for sub-performers because of all of the trouble you went through to hire them in the first place. Well, Henry, I invested so much time bringing this person in, but they're not right. So are they going to get righter by giving them more time? Right? Most cases,
nope.
There are exceptions, of course, that prove the rule, but most of the time, no. What is the old saying? Something like, when people show you who they are, believe them the first time. Right?
Yep. Yeah, no, it's absolutely true. It's absolutely true.
And there are exceptions. There are people that, because you did a poor job, again, now we're going back to the introspective entrepreneur who say, what did I do wrong? Right? I must have done something wrong when I brought this person in. And sometimes that does happen, right? The people came in and it's like, you didn't create an SOP. You were fuzzy about your job description. You hired the guy on Shark Tank that had a crummy business idea, but you really liked the person. But then you squandered it, right? You brought them in. I hired the guy, but then I squandered it because I expected him to know everything by osmosis. But he never worked in my business before.
He doesn't know what
I
I'm
didn't
doing.
take the time to teach him.
Yep. Yeah.
So there's that.
You're absolutely right. Henry, man, I can't believe 40 minutes has gone by already. I've had such a blast talking with you today. Right? Apparently, if you love what you're doing, time just flies by. Ladies and gents, there is way more of Henry to go around in a one podcast. Check him out on Instagram. 100% honesty. He doesn't run his Instagram very much, but there's a lot more information on his website. So go check that out.
Yeah, you have to go to an old school, stodgy old website. Yes.
Yeah, dasknowledge.com. And check out his book, FQ, Financial Intelligence. Increase that, I promise, just understanding some of these core concepts. And it's like anything else in life. If you can name the thing that you're trying to avoid, right? You know what? Every time I feel that way, I don't know what do I want to go with this. I don't want to work out. I'm being lazy. I want to eat. I'm being a snack or whatever. Once you can identify it, name it, you can decide whether you want to change it. And it's the same with any of these financial habits. It's the same with any of these things that you do in your business. If you can identify it, if you can see, if you can have somebody show you what you're doing through a book, through a podcast, through a discussion, like that's the point where you can make a change. So Henry, thank you very much for being on the program.
Thank you, guys. It was my pleasure.
All right, James, we're going to do something a little bit different. You're going to play the outro as the intro?
Heck yeah.
All right, dude. So we'll come back and we'll do the business bros, all right? Let's do it at the end. Hit it, Ham.
Shut up and sit down.
The Business Bros Podcast was created for you. Learn from the business professionals who come to share their stories. Find out what's working in business, on social media, what's hot and what's not, straight from the mouths of successful entrepreneurs out there doing the real work. And now, welcome to another episode of
Business Bros. All right, ladies and gentlemen.
Chiming in on the business bros. I have standards, and
there are things I will.
And you have exceeded them.